Welcome to Diz and Hers, the show about what's happening in the Disney community from his, hers, and your perspective. I'm Lauren.
And I'm Eric, and on today's show, we're tackling the questions: is one day enough at Epic Universe? After our third visit, we're sharing exactly what we accomplished, whether Helios is worth the splurge, and the universal attractions every Disney fan should experience at least once.
But before we get started, we want to remind you that Diz and Hers can be found on all your favorite podcast platforms and also in video format over on YouTube and Spotify. We'd love it if you would head over to Apple, leave us a quick rating or review, and let us know what you want us to talk about on an upcoming show.
All right, Lauren. So we just came back from a pretty quick vacation, but we did get to spend our third time at Epic Universe. So for anybody that's been following our Epic journey, we got to go once in April of last year during the annual pass holder preview. So it was a very low crowded situation. Then we once went in July, which was a nice, wonderful, heated, hot day, which we had a less than
And I swore we would never go back.
right, less than desirable. And then, of course, we just made it back, and it was during June, and it was just a normal park day. So we have thoughts, we have feelings, but we also I think we have a hack, right?
Yeah, we definitely have a hack. And so, just to give you a little bit more context, Eric and I are heading back down to Orlando just in a few weeks, about 3 weeks, I think. But this was an impromptu. Eric's brother was going to be down in Orlando, not a Disney person, but a big Star Wars fan. And so he was down for a conference. And so the back half of the trip was at Disney. And we were like, okay, well, it's just the two of us. We just got passes again. Do we want to try to tackle Epic and obviously Universal? So with Epic, I was listening to that was the Epic Universal podcast where Chris Cox from Case 4 was talking about his recent experience at Epic and was talking about resorts and said he just kept checking back like daily, weekly to see if there was like a good rate for Helios. And that's what I was like, well, I might as well try. And I'll be darned, there was an amazing rate at Helios. So it really did change the dynamic of our trip. And I do remember on a previous podcast, one of the big things that kept coming up is saying, is one day enough for Epic Universe? So now with us being there 3 different times, we thought we'd try to tackle that question. And there was also, on the people's internet, we're looking at Reddit and the Facebook groups and the Epic Universal communities. And I mean, this is everywhere. YouTube comment sections. So we wanted to try to tackle that, and the options that go along with the one day at Epic Universe are: A, do we stay on site for one night and get the early entry? Do we B, buy express pass? Or do we C, buy an extra day ticket for Epic? So that's what the question is, and that's what everybody online is kind of answering.
Yeah, and I mean, I might have had a different feeling going into this, thinking, well, I mean, I might have gave different suggestions. And I believe they might even talked about this slightly on the Case for the episode where they talk about kind of going through this, but we got to experience it firsthand. So it's kind of
Yeah.
interesting. And truth be told, I'm not 100% sure why the discount came for Helios. Now, correct me if I'm wrong. I think it was just north of $200 per night.
Yeah, and so I feel like that's the first thing to talk about is the rate we got for Helios. Now remember, this was on a Monday. I believe it was maybe around like 250. But while we were, and that was an annual pass rate. And when we got there to check in, she did say, like, we see that you booked an annual pass rate. Do you have annual passes? Well, we had bought the passes a couple months ago to get the like extra free bonus months. And so we thought maybe we would have to like go to the parks and scan in order to use them, but they were able to do that at the concierge. desk there. So while we were activating our annual passes, there was a family next to us and they were trying to upsell them to get the express pass for Epic, and they were charging about 270 a day per person. So I think that's important context.
Yeah, so we had the whole room, which we had. I mean, could it sleep 4? I'm not sure exactly. I mean, I think we
Yeah.
just had 1. Yeah, so so you could get the whole room. So I would say if the hotel is having a good deal, 250, and I believe they put that sale to get us to go to Epic because we had annual passes and they got more money out of us because then we bought the Epic deal tickets. We weren't going to go to Epic this trip unless we had this Helios. So it worked for them. Give us a discount on Helios, then you get us in the park. It was a good deal for them all around because they ended up getting more money. And as you guys will find out, we will probably evangelize a little bit of our experience with this. So,
Yeah, so we went from having a wonderful experience in April, having a rocky one in July, to back to having an exceptional experience. But this time I think that it has to do with the Helios. And
yeah,
so just kind of spoiler alert as we walk through this timeline for you is I was tracking basically from when we left our hotel room through when we did all of the attractions that we were aiming to do. And we knocked everything out, I mean, before lunch. So let me give you some of the timetable. So we left our room at 8:10 and we were dropping off our luggage that morning, and early entry started at 9 a.m. So we dropped our luggage and we were in the line. So right off of the lobby area is where you would go to your exclusive park entrance. And we got in that line about 8:20. At that time, there were people in front of us, but I would say we were towards
there were
the
about
front.
20 people in front of
Yeah,
us, not a lot.
not a lot, but there were some people ahead of us, just to give you, some context. And if this were me and I was gonna do it again, I would hit the bathroom and I would stop by their little, cafe and get yourself, a coffee and a Danish while you're waiting. And so with early park entry opening at 9, they did let us into the park at 8:40 a.m. to not get on the ride, but to get to the next level. So where did we hit up first, Eric?
Well, we went right to Battle of the Ministry because we know that takes a long time, but this is the strategic thing is we're right there. So I think that one of the big concerns of Battle of the Ministry is if you get in, even if you're at the front of the park, you're staying at the Terra Luna or Stella Nova, you got to go through and then they keep you at the very front of the park, which you have to walk all the way through. Where Helios, you're just a hop, skip, and a jump from the Battle of the Ministry. So we ended up in the queue for the Battle of the Ministry at not 8:45, so 5 minutes, and it was weird. I will tell you, they cart you around the ministry area in France. They basically take you through some of these tunnels, and they kind of corral you into a
From, like,
single
one
file
end of the
line.
land to the other.
Yeah.
It was
So at
odd.
so at first I was like, so even though there were only 20 people in front of us, some of the other people did kind of catch up, and we did kind of strategically not know where to go. So if we would have first entered that land, we would have made all the way to the right where they kind of take you under a building where we were all the left. So by the time we got in the queue, there might have been 100 people in front of us, but it was manageable. We were on the ride by 9:05 and we got off the ride by 9:15. So,
And
and
that
this
is,
is
like, a
still
very long queue.
right. And this is 45 minutes before anyone else gets in. So at this point in time, I think other people would decide what's their most important second ride. It could be Donkey Kong. It could be Mario. In our case, we were wanting to do Hiccups because you have yet to do it, and I only got to do it once, and it's a fun attraction. So we decided that we were going to go over and do the Isle of Burke, which is also kind of close. So go ahead and just kind of give everyone the next rundown of how we just hammered out the rest of the park for a little bit.
Yeah, so we went over, we did Hiccups, wing gliders, and I will say there was, like, a weird, like, because we were there really before the park opened, which was at 10 a.m., they wouldn't let us just walk by Untrainable Dragon, right? We had to kinda do a U-turn, so that added some minutes, but we ended up doing Hiccups, wing gliders, 5-minute wait, it's basically a walk-on.
Yeah.
Got off, went on Dragon Racer Rally, which is also basically a walk-on, and it was so great that we just did Hiccups again, and that was let me pull up the exact timetable here because I feel like it is important. So,
I don't feel like the park
we were
was
off
even
both
open
of
yet.
them by 9:49 AM.
Yeah. So we did
So, we did Hiccups twice and Dragon Racer Rally by
right.
9:49 AM. Park doesn't open till 10.
Right. So then we basically hammer out Curse of the Werewolf because I've only done it once, and then Monsters Unchained, which, by the way, like Monsters Unchained, you can move that to later in the day because it's not a long wait. We did
Right.
Constellation Carousel, and then we did Stardust Racers, and like none of those we waited. Maybe Stardust Racers might have been a 15-minute wait. I think it wasn't even long.
Well, no.
And
Yeah, almost 15 minutes. But so going back to the monsters, we were out of there with the werewolf and Monsters Unchained by 10:30. And then you mentioned the carousel and Stardust Racers, which was a 10-minute wait. We were done with all of that by 11.
right. And that basically was the only thing that we really didn't tackle were the shows, which we did later on, which is that's not hard to get into. And we just decided that we were just out in California, so we already did the Mario Kart ride. And Yoshi's is wonderful, but not necessarily something you're gonna, go for. And then Donkey Kong, we kind of made the executive decision that our backs probably didn't want to deal with it. But at the end of the day, like if we're done at 11:10, you then have the rest of the day to circle back around or to do those parks. And mind you, there were no rain. We didn't have any like serious issues, but we had some night. We got to sit down and eat. We got to do the different shows, but the park was open till 9 that night. Is that right?
Yeah, yeah, and going back to timetable, I just pulled this up on my phone. So I was taking screenshots of the wait times, throughout the morning to give you some context of how valuable that Helios early entry was. So my screenshot was at 10:35 AM, and Minecart Madness was up to 105 minutes. Dragon's Razor Rally was up to 40 minutes. Hiccups was still at 25 minutes. But as the day went on, Yoshi was
Mm,
up to yeah, Yoshi was at 70 minutes around this time. Mario Kart was at 85 minutes. And so if you just look at the value of having that early entry and knocking everything out with the exception of Super Nintendo World by 11:10, like, that was incredible. So, after that, we went and did lunch at, all right, help me pronounce this, Eric.
God, I
Café
didn't.
de Air
Yeah,
de la
listen.
Serene.
Yeah, the wonderful French place that Lauren couldn't get a Coke because we forgot it was a Harry Potter land, and we're like, and we're. She's like, "Can we get a Coke?" And we don't have Coke. That was medicinal and trial. And I'm like, forgot we're in Harry Potter. You forget, like when you're over in the other parks, you realize that they only have butter beer and the traditional stuff, but you forget that this one is classic Harry Potter and it has the same rules. But yeah, we ate at the French place. And then we also ate at the Atlantic later that night, which was wonderful.
Yes.
And we went over to the Visa Card Holders Lounge and hung out, which is brand new. That we just opened for maybe 2 months, they said. So there was
Yeah, yeah, it was incredible. Like we went and we were a little bit confused. If you are at the front of the park and I guess you would be looking to your right, there's some shops there. It's almost hidden under like where the VIP tour would start. It's next
Mhm,
door.
right.
And it didn't have a ton of signage. I think people were like a little bit maybe confused because we were the only people in the space. But some nice things. They did have, ample charging situations, but unlimited bottles of water, not like
Right.
a Coke
Yeah. Well, little
freeze
guys, but
style.
they didn't
Little guys,
yell at
yeah.
me for getting a couple. No, but it was,
Yeah.
truth be told, Epic was like, once again, it was funny that we had such not the greatest experience in July because we obviously we didn't buy an express pass. We didn't really kind of navigate the park the way that we wanted. Some of the rides were down. I believe it rained a little bit. It was super hot, but this experience was great. And we kind of give a lot of it to Helios. And I would now say, well, yeah, I think you can get it all done in one day. So, but you scoured the internet and you really did some deep research. So, why don't you
Yes.
summarize what you found, not just from our experience, but what everybody else was saying?
Yeah, all right. So there are a couple camps here, and I was taking all the comments across different platforms and trying to just come up with the camps that there are. So there's team one, which is one day is enough. So the themes that we uncovered were that one day is enough if you have a plan. Early entry is more important than express. And I also think that that is as important at Disney. Rope drop battle of ministry. Also, there's still a lot of downtime for that ride, so doing it early, your chances are better. Stay until close, prioritize headliners or things that are important to your family. And a lot of people said they rode almost everything in one day. So then there is our second team, which is one day is enough, but so it says, you can ride everything, you can fully experience everything, but food definitely deserves more time because there are some really amazing options. Like the Atlantic was fantastic. Like I would go back to Epic to eat there. The lambs deserve more time for exploration. Uh, Shopping gets skipped, and a lot of it, like for our last two trips, you really kind of feel rushed. You're like, I have one day. And you need to, cram it all in. And so this trip, we really were aiming to explore the lands and the attention to detail.
Yeah. Yeah, we
All
did
right.
a decent amount of that, but then you also have the last one is team get 2 days, which is,
Yeah.
which is where I probably would have landed early on. Get 2 days or get an express pass because that's kinda the deal. But a
Yeah.
lot of it will come down, and I guess you just don't know if the weather is gonna be finicky, which it sometimes will, that could cause you not to get a lot of the stuff done. Imagine if it was raining at 9 o'clock, Lauren. I mean, we
Right.
would
We
have
wouldn't
gotten
have done anything.
we'd have got Ministry done. We would have probably went over to done Monsters, maybe the Carousel, but those would all been super long waits, which would have been problematic. And granted, we also went early in June. It wasn't like not busy, but I'm sure the summer crowds could make this a little bit more problematic.
Yeah, so I mean, if you were making a once in a lifetime trip situation, it is probably, smart to get 2 days if you can swing it. And then you're not rushed and you can reride the things that you like and look at all the details, use your power up bands. But some things that surprised me was I couldn't find anybody that said Epic was impossible to do in one day. Everybody almost agreed that, it is indeed possible, but the big, point of contention is would you feel rushed or not? So, I mean, I think that our consensus is that we do agree that, you can certainly do Epic in one day. I would look at like Helios rates, especially if you're a bigger party. Say that you have four people and it's 270 per person. It might be less expensive for you to just get a room for that night, whether you use it or not. But I think a better question than is one day enough at Epic is if you only had one day, would you rather have that second day at Epic or just stay at Helios?
Yeah, that's I don't know. I mean, to me, I'm doing Epic 2 days. I don't necessarily want to hang out at the hotel too much, but that's me. But we want to know what everybody else is saying.
Yeah. So what would you rather do? Would you rather, spend the money and stay at Helios or, come back to the park for 2 days and maybe stay off site? Because I mean, it's all just a math problem, how much you want to spend. Like you're still going to spend a lot of money. But when we come back, we're going to be talking about, while we were walking around Epic, something that we kept finding ourselves doing was making Disney comparisons. So we're going to be looking at attraction by attraction to help our Disney friends answer a different question, which is if you love Disney, what Universal attractions are most likely to become your new favorites? But before that, there's this. And we're back. So, what are we talking about, Eric?
Well, I think it's just a matter of there's always that Universal versus Disney kind of comparison, or more importantly, once you kind of get beyond the tribalism and then you find out like, Both have their pros and cons, but there are things that if you're a theme park fan, you're going to like it both. But there are also some very differences that make you kind of lean towards one or the other in terms of your favorites. And when we walk around Universal and sometimes we walk around Disney, you just compare, oh, this is like this or this is like this. So I thought it would be interesting. And you have some examples, so to speak. And also, what our oldest son's girlfriend just went to Universal for the first time, so we were kind of giving her like, "Hey, we know you like this at Disney because we've traveled with her there. You'll go make sure you do this at Universal." So like that's kind of the road we're going to go on.
Yeah, so I mean, even being down in the parks, I was wondering, like, how many people, like, this was their first visit to Universal or Epic, and they're big Disney fans. Like, there's a lot of those people in our life. Like Eric said, like, our oldest son's girlfriend, diehard Disney person. And then I was also surprised by when we did get to Disney for the back half of the trip, and we were talking about Epic and Universal, how many people said that they hadn't been. I mean, this is something we've been doing in trips for years. So let's just kind of start at the top with the question. So this was on the. This is a Facebook group, and it was Universal Studios and Epic Universe Friends and Family Tips and Tricks. And so the question was asked, Universal rides similar to Disney attractions. It says we're Disney regulars, but we're going to be visiting Universal for the first time in a couple months and would love some ride comparisons. If you're familiar with both parks, which Universal rides, all three parks, are similar to specific Disney attractions in terms of motion, intensity, screens, etc.? Thanks. All right. So y'all came together and you gave some good suggestions in that thread. But I also was scouring to see what other thoughts were out there. So we're going to play a little game. Disney versus Universal. So if you love this Disney attraction, here's what may be at the top of your Universal must do list. So Eric, you made this suggestion while we were in Epic, and this is kind of what opened the whole thing. Do you want to talk about this ride?
Yeah. Well, yeah. Well, I mean, we had once. I was trying to compare it. So you did not get to do Hiccup's wing gliders the first, really two times. This you didn't get to do it either one, right? Our first
No.
two trips. So somehow you just managed to not do it. And I think it's because you decided to do the show. And then the second trip, we just couldn't get on it because it was either down or too long of a wait. So when explaining Hiccup's wing gliders, you hear coaster. And unfortunately, when you hear coaster at Universal, sometimes you think Velocicoaster, Hulk kind of scenario. And I was like, nah, it's kind of more like a Slinky Dog Dash. Like it's a family coaster. And that is truthfully kind of how I always viewed Hiccups. And I think other people are probably in the same vein. Like with Slinky Dog, it's not super intense, but there are a couple like not wow moments, but you go fast enough, you go high enough, there is enough like velocity. Where Hiccups is, I would say, a little bit more intense, but same vein. It has a little bit of a launch, but nothing super crazy. There's some story elements, there's a little starting and stopping, but I would say that is a very easy comparison and probably length of ride even. And at this time, maybe even length of how long you wait. If it's not first thing in the morning, but that would be the first one I would go. What's your
And the
thoughts?
internet is with you. So most commonly compared ride was indeed Slinky Dog Dash. And so if now we're moving over to Disney's Hollywood Studios, and if you love Rise of the Resistance, the recommendation is try Battle at the Ministry. What do you think of that?
I think it's close, but not really. I think that the Rise of the Resistance, I don't know if there's anything that Universal has done that has the level of, I guess, storytelling for various scenes. Battle of the Ministry kind of comes close because you do have a lot of different show elements in the queue. The ride technology is quite different. Where Rise of the Resistance, when we get to the main show building, it is self driving vehicles or cartless track, where Battle of the Ministry, I believe it's on a Kuka arm, if I'm not
Yeah.
mistaken. So I mean, it is a slight semblance, but not as close, in my opinion. It is both rides are kind of their own little thing, mostly because Rise of the Resistance is a giant whole arcing story through a whole bunch of different little subs, series.
But the queue, I mean, I have never seen anything like the queue of Battle of the Ministry. Like,
Yeah.
takes your breath away, and, like, I almost was pinching myself, like, are we in reality seeing the queue? Like, I think the queue is more impressive than the ride.
Yeah, yeah, I agree. I mean, the ride is fine. The first time I saw the ride, I was more impressed. We got to go on it the second time. I'm like, yeah, it's fine enough. There are some like wow moments, and I would say that's the kind of the case in both. The first
Yeah.
time you go on both of those, there are wow moments. The second time, you know it's coming, so it's not as shocking. The technology in both are just great, but I would say that they're both kind of like one of a kind. If I had to make a comparison, I would probably make this, but I still don't think they're that close.
Alright, so moving on, for our traditionalist friends, if you love the Haunted Mansion, then the internet thinks that you should try Monsters Unchained. Now, Eric, with you being a huge Haunted Mansion fan and, you were most excited about Monsters Unchained, do you think the internet is right?
They are right that the people that love the Haunted Mansion are likely going to love Monsters Unchained, but they are not the same ride or even close. They are, in my opinion, but we people that tend to like that dark, eerie stuff, like that's why both of these are my favorite attractions. But for the most part, Monsters Unchained probably is my favorite attraction for Universal, and it is because of the animatronics, the dark nature of it all. I do appreciate that, but they're not the same ride by any means. Not even close. One is very slow moving, old 60s, and the other one is the most technologically wonderful, KUKA arm technology.
Okay, alright, so now we're going to our, coaster friends, if you love Mine Train, like I do, the internet thinks you should try Donkey Kong Minecart Madness. I think that they are totally different. One requires a chiropractor visit
Yeah.
after. I'm looking at you, Donkey Kong. Mine Train does not, but online, a lot of people compare uh, Mine Train with a Little Space Mountain and Expedition Everest all kind of like mixed together, and then you get Donkey Kong Minecart Madness.
Well,
You
I
in
will
that
say,
camp?
yeah. Well, no, I say they're both very similar in terms that they're both highly overrated and the waits are not worth it. So there's my hot take that'll tick people off. So yes, they're overrated. That is why they're similar. I mean, one will certainly mess you up. The other one is. I mean, they both have like little show elements where you see animatronics and stuff. Sure, in a sense, but I think that's the biggest thing is I wouldn't want to wait, and we typically don't wait for most of those. Although I know Seven Dwarfs Mine Train is in like your Mount Rushmore, if not honorable fifth member.
Oh, yeah, no, I love that, but, like, it's something that was definitely on my Mount Rushmore was the People Mover. Love, love, love
Yeah.
that, and, folks think you should try Yoshi's Adventure. They also said that it would be like a shorter version of a People Mover with, like, a little bit of Winnie the Pooh mixed in. Big
Mm,
difference is the People Mover is normally like a walk-on and, like, it's relaxing and you can just take a break, but as I mentioned earlier on today's show, Yoshi got up to, 70 minutes, 90 minutes, and I would not ever, never, never wait that long
nah,
for that ride.
it's I don't think I mean, I can understand why you would say that, but I don't think Yoshi's is a people mover. People mover is 100% more of a relaxing pace. It's what 10 minutes or so. Like you just kind of you don't really have to focus on anything. It doesn't even seem like it's a ride. It seems like a mode of transportation and like a relaxing spot. I can see the whole Winnie the Pooh kind of thing mixed in a bit with Yoshi,
Yeah.
but maybe just Yoshi is kind of like any old dark ride that you're on. It just so happens that you're on a track and you're outside, so it seems people movery. Like I would almost say Dr. Seuss's trolley is closer to people mover, but then again, that's also slightly different. And I think that's a people mover only because it takes you around the land. Where Yoshi really just takes you in like a circle. It doesn't really take you around the land as much as one
Right,
would hope.
I wanna go from portal to portal. I know we're not doing that in Yoshi, but, like, can we get, like, some kinda cosmic train?
I think that'd be great. Captain Cacao could definitely
Yeah, he could be
have
the
a ship.
captain, right.
There you
Oh, maybe
go.
we'll get, like, a ship in space, that'd be awesome.
There you go.
Anyways, last one up is if you love Festival of the Lion King, which is a remarkable show at Disney's Animal Kingdom, try Untrainable Dragon. I don't know. I think that epic shows. I mean, Festival of the Lion King is amazing, but the Untrainable Dragon is the best theme park show I think I've ever witnessed. It's at a whole nother level to me.
Well, maybe, yeah, because I wouldn't say like Finding Nemo is more of a Broadway show, and Untrainable Dragon still is not quite Broadway level. Festival
Yeah,
Lion King is certainly, I mean, yeah, I would say that would probably be the closest comparison because you think of the other shows that you have. Well, Frozen Ever After and Beauty and the Beast, they're their own thing.
they're
This isn't a
different.
stunt
Yeah.
show, so yeah. I mean, if you like Festival Lion King, you're gonna like Untrainable Dragon. But I'm kind of with you. I think Untrainable Dragon is better
Yeah.
than that, and but it's there's a big wow moment. I don't know if the songs are necessarily catchy, but they're
No.
moving enough. I mean, I'm not singing it. The difference with Festival of Lion King, those are songs that we've known since the 90s that you have ingrained in your head. Untrainable Dragon is kind of homemade songs or songs that we don't know. But yeah, I think that's probably one of the better comparisons.
All right. So wrapping this up, I'm going to ask you this question, and it's a question for our listeners. If you could pick just one universal attraction that every Disney fan should absolutely experience, what would it be?
And that's for all the parks. Are we just talking
All the
Epic here?
parks. No, all the parks.
Man, this is I mean, like, to me, if you're a Disney fan now, I look at Disney fans as, like, family attractions, and I think there's a lot of things. I am an ET guy. I personally think if you do ET, that gives you the nostalgia. It's family friendly. It gives you enough of like what Universal could be in a dark ride. Because anything else, I think, is all very much like there's going to be kids that don't like the coasters and kids don't like the Harry Potter stuff that's scary. I mean, so if you're going to ask me, I'm going to be like, I think the adults all can appreciate ET and the kids can appreciate ET. But I know I'll get killed online. But I am just a nostalgic guy. Like I like the old stuff, so don't throw rocks at me. What's yours?
Yeah, I mean, so for me, I can't narrow down to a specific, attraction, but I will say that the Dr. Seuss Land and
Yeah,
talking about Hunter's girlfriend visiting for the first time, that felt the most Disney to her. I mean, you have the Cat in the Hat, which is a dark ride. You have One
yeah,
Fish, Two Fish, Three Fish, Blue Fish, which is like Dumbo. You have a carousel, you have the trolley in the sky, which is People Mover-esque, and, like, the theming is wonderful. You could meet the Lorax and the Cat in the Hat and Sam I Am, wonderful gift shops and bakeries, and Circus McGurkus, our favorite theme
yeah,
park food.
yeah.
So that checks a lot of boxes for me, but we wanna know from you, if you could pick up one, universal attraction at any of the parks and tell a Disney person they absolutely need to experience it, what would it be? But that's it for today's episode of Diz and Hers. For more, make sure you're hitting up disandhers.com. There you'll find articles, episodes, and updates. And if Disney's your vibe, make sure to subscribe.
And remember, watch what you post. You might end up in next week's episode.